Okay, is the red light on? That
Yep.
it says record. So we're on. So what are you doing here? I pull into a hotel in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and I always carry my video equipment. Actually, we're in Enola, Pennsylvania, and I said, Adam Cole, what are you doing here? What are you doing in the hotel here?
Yeah, well, it was an absolute pleasure and crazy coincidence that we ran into each other here.
Yeah.
And finally getting the chance to talk to you. I'm such a big fan of yours.
Well,
me
I
personally.
appreciate that.
Thank you. Not blowing smoke. So this is awesome that we get the chance to sit down and talk a little wrestling.
Well, that's great. That's great. So, now you live in this general area, right?
Yeah. At the moment,
great.
I live in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is just a great little town.
That is the home of, what's the name of that? Shady Maple Buffet. Everybody tells me that's like the best buffet in the entire
Which is
world.
so pathetic because I still have not been there, and it is literally what you had said what Lancaster, Pennsylvania is known for. So I'm going to make it a point at some point in the very near future to make sure that I go.
We will let you guys know possibly when we're there, so we'll make it a party. You paying the check for everybody?
Oh, you got it.
For everybody?
For everybody.
Well, we'll have to see. So what I want to do is, a lot of people send mail to onewrestling.com and they say to me, how do I get started in the wrestling business? Everybody's got their own success story. You've been with Ring of Honor for how long now?
About 2 years now.
Okay, so let's backtrack, okay? And we were talking off camera for a minute when I said, wait, let me go up to my room and get the video camera. We were talking and he says, you know what, that magazine, Bill, that you were one of the editors of, WOW magazine, was the first wrestling magazine you ever saw. So you were obviously a fan.
Yeah.
Okay.
At this point, I was a fan. And if I could even backtrack a little bit too,
Let's rewind. Okay.
Yeah. How I had become a fan was when I was 9 years old. My parents had split up, and at this point, I was taking karate lessons from this karate instructor.
Okay.
And he was a guy that I really, really respected, and I really, really.
This is in
looked up to.
Lancaster?
This was in Lancaster at this point.
Okay.
So I remember I'd gotten there one day very, very early. And he was running on the treadmill, and he was watching a taped Monday Night Raw from the night before.
Okay.
And it was Kane and Stone Cold Steve Austin putting Paul Bearer in a sewer.
So
that was my first memory of pro wrestling.
Wow.
And he leaned over to me and he said, "Oh, do you like pro wrestling?" And I said, "Yeah, I watch it all the time." But in reality, I had never seen it before in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted so badly to fit in with him in some way, shape, and form besides karate that I was taking at the time. So he said, well, if you get a written note from your mother, I'll let you borrow WrestleMania 15 from this year. It was in Philadelphia.
You had to have a written note from your mother?
A written note from my mother, yes, to make sure. Because wrestling was very violent and risque.
It was attitude,
It was attitude.
era and everything. And
so I went home and I begged my mom. I said, please, you got to let me borrow this tape. And I guess she figured if a karate instructor was teaching honor, discipline, and respect to a bunch of young kids, that pro wrestling and the WWF couldn't be that bad. So she signed off on the note, and the first time I saw Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, I was hooked for life.
That was it?
That was it for me.
So how did you want to be Stone Cold and The Rock?
I think to a certain extent, especially Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
He was a guy as a kid, whether this is the right thing to say or not, he was a guy I admired.
Yeah.
I liked how he didn't take any crap from anybody. I was bullied a little bit in school, so I liked his idea of standing up to people and doing everything his way. So as a kid, he was a guy that I really, really admired and really, really looked up to.
That's great. That's great. So how did you pursue, people out there, again, always want to know, how do you pursue your dream? It's different for everyone. How did you do it?
Sure. Well, at that time, the WWF was the only thing that I thought existed. And then later on, as my fandom, per se, continued to grow, I realized WCW was out there, ECW was out there, and then a long list of independent promotions and international promotions all around the world. So as this continued to grow, when I was in high school, I actually attended a CZW wrestling event in the old famous South Philadelphia bingo hall, the ECW Arena.
Sure.
And it was my first CZW event, and I remember being so blown away by what I had seen. And
you were a fan out in the audience.
Yeah, just a fan. I was actually a junior in high school at this point.
Right.
So I went to the back of the arena that night just to meet all the wrestlers. And one of the guys that I met was DJ Hyde, who happened to be the head trainer of the CZW Wrestling Academy.
Sure.
And he was very, very easy to talk to, very, very approachable. And for whatever reason, I built up the confidence to tell him that when I graduate high school, I want to be a wrestler someday.
Yeah.
And he looked me square in the face and he goes, well, why don't you want to be a wrestler now? And I said, well, DJ, I just now am starting to get a job. I'm just now starting to save up money. I wasn't under the impression that you could make little payments. I thought you had to, have the money right up front.
Sure.
And I said, there's no way I'm going to swing it by my parents to drive 2 hours to Philadelphia, 2 hours back Monday through Thursday while I was still attending school.
Right.
And he goes, well, I'll tell you what. He goes, if you can only come down 1 day a week, and I'll work with you on money as long as I'm assured that I'm going to get all my money by the end of it, you can come to the CZW Wrestling Academy to train. And I was sold.
So he saw your passion.
Yeah, very clearly.
The glow in your eye that I want to do this.
Yeah, yeah. And actually later on I went to try out as well, where we got to work out in the ring and run around and take some bumps and things like that too.
Now wait, let's back up.
Sure.
Okay? So now you go home and you tell your family about this. And what was the reaction at home?
My father was very skeptical. He's always been actually very skeptical about this. Not supportive, but very on the fence about it because he didn't understand the entire world of it.
Right.
My mother, on the other hand, has always seen, like ever since I was 9 years old when I first saw Stone Cold Steve Austin, how badly I wanted to do this.
So she had to go for it.
100%, 100%. So, and since then, DJ was an excellent trainer, someone who did just such a great job as far as making us work so hard and making us, pay our dues, as they say. So he was a tremendous trainer and definitely someone I'm glad I chose as the guy to break me in.
Okay, so what was the next step now? What was your pro debut? How long from the time you started training until you actually got in the ring in front of an audience?
Sure. It was about 4 months. My first wrestling match was April 6th, 2008, and again, the ECW Arena.
Right.
And it was a battle royal where I didn't even have any gear at this point. I borrowed my friend's tights, and I borrowed another friend's kick pads, and I had some old raggedy wrestling shoes. And this was actually a benefit show to raise money for Sabian. He wrestles for CZW.
Yes.
He had recently broken his jaw.
I remember this.
So we had raised money for him, and I remember walking out through that curtain and just being a bundle of nerves, but being so excited. You can't even really describe the feeling. It's
Did you think in your skin you were Stone Cold Steve Austin walking out there?
Oh no, in my skin I was a terrified 18-year-old boy.
Okay.
Yeah. Just because I always tell people this. I say, imagine being at a very young age and telling yourself as a kid, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to be something, quite outlandish.
Yeah.
And then you have that moment where you realize, okay, this is really happening. And that's what was happening to me at 18. I said, this is really happening. All I've ever thought about and all I've ever wanted to do is happening in this very short amount of time.
Sure.
So it's very, very overwhelming. But when it was finished, I felt like I was on cloud 9 and I couldn't have been more excited, and I wanted that adrenaline rush again. So yeah, I'll never forget that night, April 6, 2008 in Philadelphia.
Okay, so 2008, here we are in 2012. So what were the steps to today?
Sure. I think my attitude had a lot to do with it, obviously. I sit here and tell you, and I've told people before, that pro wrestling is all I've ever wanted to do, but as they say, actions speak louder than words. So ever since I started wrestling, I always told myself that I wanted to be the best that I possibly could be. And fortunately for me, I surrounded myself with a lot of people who knew how to lead me in the right direction and get me on that path. And one of the parts of the process to that path was just working so hard, and every single weekend, anytime I had an opportunity to wrestle, I did.
So various independents besides CZW
multiple
as well?
Independents, yeah. Right. Lots of local promotions in Maryland, lots of local promotions in Allentown.
Sure.
Places like Maryland Championship Wrestling, places like WXW for AFA.
Yeah.
And DJ Hyde was very instrumental in that. I remember each and every time we were done with training and he was done beating us up, he would sit there and he would go, okay, these are the shows that I'm going to be on this weekend. If any one of you are interested, you can come to my house and you can come with me to these shows, and you can help set up the ring. You can help tear down the ring. I'll introduce you to some people, and at the very least, you're going to see.
Now that's the right way to do this. By the way, I keep looking at the camera because we're on a little mini tripod, and I want to make sure we're recording.
Absolutely.
So if you see me doing this periodically, that's why. But see, that's the way to do it, because that's the way they did it back in the day, so to say, where you did everything. You put up the ring, you drove guys to the airport.
Absolutely.
Everything, that's, you paid your dues.
And I think that was great too, because DJ too, I want to give him so much credit, because he went above and beyond his duty as trainer. Because like you said, even though before that was how it was instituted, I feel like now there are lots of cases where guys will train people and then throw them out into the open wild and say, figure it out.
Yeah.
And DJ said, if you want it bad enough, I'll take you along. And so I practically lived at his house for 1.5 years.
Wow.
And his idea of me going up and setting rings and tearing down rings really made me appreciate every moment that I had. Like, I remember when I would go to these shows and I would help set up and tear down at, say, Maryland Championship Wrestling. I was honored that I got to go there and help set up and tear down, and
Sure.
that I could go and watch this show and meet these guys.
Yeah, great company.
So yeah, he was just tremendous in that, and I just really enjoyed that, every step of the way.
So where did you go now? You're in all these indies,
Mm-hmm.
and then how many years until you? What was the thing that actually got you your foot in the door? I guess the next big thing was Ring of Honor.
Sure,
correct?
sure. I had been working really, really hard, like you had said, at multiple independent promotions at this point. At this point, I was CZW World Junior Heavyweight Champion. I had a couple tours of Europe under my belt. So it's
That's,
really
England, Germany.
England and Germany.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Like working for Brian Dixon in England, working for WXW in Germany.
And by the way, if anybody's watching this who worked or works for Brian Dixon,
Mm-hmm.
one of the great old school, one of the few left old school promoters. If you ever get a chance to go to one of his shows and meet him, and you want to meet somebody real old school, find Brian Dixon in England. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He was a tremendous promoter to work for, and a guy that kept the wrestlers so busy. It was the closest thing to. Well, I think the coolest thing about it was literally waking up every day, and all you had to worry about was wrestling, because you were wrestling every day.
Yeah.
It wasn't a scenario where you had other things to worry about. You would literally get up, go to the gym, go wrestle, and that was your schedule, and it was great.
You weren't a weekend warrior. You were actually there.
Right, every single night. But leading back to Ring of Honor, I had met, actually a buddy of mine who came over from Australia. He's a wrestler. His name was Ryan Eagles. And he had done a little tour here in America. And he had started training at the Ring of Honor school, and he invited me to come along.
Now, who was the trainer at Ring of Honor at that
Delirious
point?
was the head trainer, and
Okay,
still is
yes.
at this point. And so
I'll never forget when Delirious said to me, never forgot that.
Of course.
Yes, go right on.
Anyway, so I'd gone there and I'd started training there, and then eventually I'd built up the courage to ask some of the guys if it was okay if I went to some of the Ring of Honor shows to help set up and just tear down and just meet some of the guys.
And you had experience from CZW.
Sure.
doing that.
And they said absolutely. So the first 5 Ring of Honor shows that I attended, I was strictly there to be security or do whatever was asked of me at that time.
Yeah.
And then eventually, after I'd gone, I had the opportunity to have a dark match, and it was on the first set of the HD net tapings in Philadelphia.
Oh, yes.
And Adam Pearce was the booker at this time, and again, it was a scenario where I was very, very nervous.
That's the same guy, by the way, who's been involved in that big feud with Colt Cabana and the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Just in case you don't know, I'm sure you do. But
And actually, too, as a matter of fact, I recently, back in April, had a match for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship against Adam Pearce.
Okay.
And yeah, just a tremendous competitor,
Yes,
too.
he
Great,
is.
great wrestler.
Anyway, back to...
But yeah, so Adam Pearce was the booker at this time, and then probably for about a year, I would show up to Ring of Honor shows monthly when they were in the Philadelphia area, and I would have these dark matches before the television tapings. And every time I would come to the back, Adam Pearce being as busy as he is, obviously, I would ask Adam really quickly. I would say, "Hey, how did I do? What do you think?" And he would say, "You did a great job. Keep it up."
Yeah.
And this was for a year, and I remember sitting there thinking to myself, okay, I haven't done enough to impress him yet, to the point where, maybe some house show match opportunities.
Where he was going to say, hey, come on, be one of the regular crew.
Sure.
Yeah.
And again, not in any fault of his own. One, him being so busy and having to worry about creating a television product. And 2, me not being able to do enough to capture his attention.
Right.
So I thought to myself, what could I do to make something different of myself to get his attention? And I had his email, so I decided to send him an email with some promos that I had cut, just to try something different.
Yeah.
And I sent them to him, and he really, really enjoyed the promos. And he invited me to the next set of TV tapings.
So you have to be proactive. You have to...
Sure.
You have to just go and do it.
Right, absolutely. And that's too is the part of being a well-rounded wrestler. Not only, being good in the ring and being good at promos, but being able mentally to adapt to your environment and kind of figure out what it is you need to do
You're a
to make
business.
said promoter happy.
You're a business.
Right.
You're trying to promote yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, he invited me to these TV tapings again, only this time I was not having a wrestling match. I was going to cut a dark in-ring promo. He wanted me to just come in and talk. So I was very excited at this opportunity because it was so different. So I went in and I started talking, and very fortunately for me, Adam Pearce quickly grabbed Jim Cornette and told Jim Cornette to come sit down and watch this promo.
Yes.
Jim Cornette happened to watch the promo, and Jim Cornette was very pleased as well. And right then and there was when I got offered my Ring of Honor contract.
And Jim Cornette, because I've known him since he started, is not an easy guy to please.
Right.
I mean, he's very particular about who he picks to do certain things.
Absolutely.
So,
And I think that's due, obviously, to just the amount of talent that he's worked with.
Were you a
over the
fan
years.
of his growing up? by the way?
Giant fan of Jim
Yeah.
Cornette. And actually, too, speaking a little bit more currently now that Jim Cornette has been a part of the Ring of Honor program here, it's awesome for young guys like me to be able to sit back and pick a guy like Jim Cornette's brain, and him to be so willing. There's not a fiber in his being that thinks it's a pain in the butt to spend a little time with me to help me, whether it be with something in my match or something in my promos or anything, whatever it may be. He genuinely enjoys helping the guys out, and that's just a priceless thing that we have going on in Ring of Honor.
So you are, as of when we're taping this, you are the current champion.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And there's a whole list of guys, gunning for your title.
Absolutely.
What? Let's say I asked you right now to who currently, again, as we're taping this,
Sure.
your top challenger is Mondo, correct?
Yeah. My top challenger is Mike Mondo.
Right.
And it's so interesting with Mike Mondo is because he's been labeled kind of as a dark horse in Ring of Honor. Every single scenario that Mike Mondo has been put in, people are waiting for him to fail and waiting for him to lose his match. No one thinks he's going to win.
Yeah.
And Mondo always prevails, and he always impresses each and every time. So Mondo treats each and every matchup that he has in Ring of Honor like it's his very last match. And he needs to do everything he can to win and everything he can to impress. So I realized the threat that I have, actually, as of now that we're taping this, I'm actually defending my television championship against Mike Mondo on pay-per-view at Death Before Dishonor in Chicago.
Which is?
September 15th.
Okay, and
Yep.
today is?
Today is the 12th.
The 12th, so that probably will have happened already.
Yes,
okay?
yes. And hopefully I'll still be champion.
Yeah, and hopefully, it was a great match. You should have seen this. But who are the other people, and they don't necessarily have to be contenders for your championship, but who are, actually, before I ask you this question, talk to me about Carrie.
Oh, yeah, Kerry Silkin.
Yeah, talk to me about Carrie Silkin and his role in what brought you to the table as well.
Right, absolutely. Anybody that you interview will give you the exact same exact same answer on Kerry each and every time.
Yeah.
And he is one of the most unselfish, one of the most giving people that you will ever meet in wrestling.
Okay.
Just a tremendous guy to be around. He saw something in me from the start. He supported me from the start. He was always there. One of the first guys when I got to the back to tell me that I did a great job. Kerry's just a tremendous guy, and it's still great too when Kerry comes around at Ring of Honor because he really is the true ambassador and always will be at Ring of Honor.
All right, so now let's get back to the other. I'm sorry if I'm jumping back and forth, but there's so much that I want to ask you here. So guys in Ring of Honor that not necessarily are gunning for your title, let's say 4 or 5 guys who impress you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, one of them we were talking about before, someone who I've known forever, and I think he's part of this crew, is Steve Corino, correct?
Absolutely, yeah, Steve Corino for sure. Steve Corino is one of those guys that, again, is just a priceless commodity to the Ring of Honor locker room for what he brings to the table, his experiences that he's had, and he's a very dangerous threat too. A lot of people will question whether or not Steve still has what it takes to be at the top of the world in Ring of Honor, but each and every time he goes out there, he shocks people because he's that good.
Yeah.
So Steve definitely is a threat constantly, and someone that Steve has aligned himself with, as of this taping, the current Ring of Honor World Champion, Kevin Steen.
Yes, of course.
For me to not mention him, I think would be silly. Yeah,
Wrong.
absolutely, because anyone who's in Ring of Honor is gunning for that Ring of Honor World Championship. So as far as being impressive, I think that just speaks for itself.
Okay, who else?
A guy that I beat, actually, for the World Television Championship, Roderick Strong.
Sure.
As a matter of fact, I think Roderick Strong is probably one of the most underrated guys in Ring of Honor. And what I mean by that is each and every time he has great matches, awesome performances every time he's out there. But people still question him as far as whether or not he's going to win and whether or not he's going to pull it off. But as far as a guy that has been with Ring of Honor almost from the very, very beginning, Roderick always pulls out the big one and always does a great job.
Okay.
I want to mention 2 guys actually kind of in one. The Briscoe brothers.
Oh, of course.
I think the Briscoe
Jay and Mark.
Jay and Mark Briscoe.
Yes.
They've proven time and time again that tag team wrestling is still alive and well in Ring of Honor, especially.
Yeah.
Just a tremendous tag team, such an entertaining act as well.
Yeah.
Those guys together are just. And it's as real as it gets too. They're just they're joys to be around. They're great guys and an even better tag team. So Those guys are certainly guys that I think of. And then two, even though these guys aren't teaming together anymore, I would just like to mention them kind of as one because they've been associated with each other for so long in Ring of Honor. And that's Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards.
Of course. Of course.
You know, lots of times these guys are labeled as the best wrestlers in the entire world, and I do think that's a fair statement to make because, especially for Ring of Honor, each and every time they go out there, the things that they do and the way that they put their bodies on the line and the training that they put into this, they're just unbelievable athletes that I truly admire and really, really look up to as far as professional wrestling is concerned.
So let's take the entire world of professional wrestling now. WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, and all the other indies out there. Is there one guy that you would have a dream match against? Stone Cold Steve, I'm talking about a current guy. Let's say you had the opportunity for one match in any one of those companies. Who would that match be?
I'll tell you the exact guy I'm going to say, and I know it's going to sound cliche because he's the current WWE champion, but CM Punk. And the reason for this is I actually have a backstory for this as well.
Let's hear it.
Whereas I would have said CM Punk regardless of where he was wrestling. It just happens to be that he's the current WWE champion, so it makes it sweeter. But like I was telling you before, how I was very ignorant to the fact that I didn't really know other wrestling existed out there. The first independent wrestling tape that I ever purchased was the Best of CM Punk Volume 1 from Ring of Honor. Because I had heard time and time again in these magazines and on the internet, CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk. I kept hearing about this guy.
And he was a trainer for Ring of Honor for a long time.
And I had no idea who he was. And there was no disrespect to him. I just didn't know who he was. So I said to myself one day, I was like, I got to buy a DVD of this guy. I got to check him out. And I remember watching some of his matches and being really, really impressed. And then I saw a promo that he cut on Raven. And I was so blown away.
I remember this.
By how captivating he was and how unbelievably real his promo was. That I instantly became a fan for life. And I literally became a fan of Ring of Honor because of CM Punk. So, I mean, to see that
is he the best in the world? Can you say it?
I think so.
Okay.
I really do.
You heard it, CM Punk. Okay, so I'm going to give you have a watch on.
Yes.
I'm going to give you 1 minute.
Okay.
1 minute, because I know he can talk. I'm going to give you 1 minute to be the play-by-play guy of you against CM Punk in the ring.
Okay.
1 minute, quickie, and how it winds up. Are you ready? The
All
bell
right,
rings.
I'm the announcer.
You're the announcer. Ding.
Okay. Adam Cole and CM Punk now locking eyes. Oh, they're beginning to circle. You can feel the intensity in the ring tonight. Oh, they lock up. Oh, they're struggling. They're struggling at this point. CM Punk cuts Adam Cole off with a knee to the midsection. Oh, he takes off, but Adam Cole with a hip toss. Now a drop kick. Oh, CM Punk heads outside the ring to catch his breath. Adam Cole looks very confident in this one. CM Punk slowly making his way back into the ring. They lock up again. Adam Cole behind CM Punk. CM Punk runs Adam Cole back to the turnbuckle. Back elbow to the face. He whips Adam Cole. Adam Cole goes up and over. Oh, Adam Cole's going for the Florida Key, his finishing move. CM Punk reverses. He goes for the GTS. Adam Cole with a crucifix pin. 1, 2. CM Punk kicks out. Adam Cole with a super kick.
2.
Cover. 1, 2. Oh,
only 2
CM
again.
Punk kicks out. Adam Cole again going for his finishing move. CM Punk reverses. Oh, a kick to the head. Cover. 1, 2. No. But now CM Punk climbing to the top rope. It looks like he's going for that patented elbow drop. Adam Cole moves out of the way. Adam Cole back up. Florida Key. There it is. Cover. 1, 2, 3. We've got your winner. Adam Cole.
And the new champion.
And the new WWE champion.
And now you, the best in the world. Of course, that was great.
Of course, that's how it has.
A lot of guys can't do that. I've tried to do that with a lot of people.
I will say that's the first time I've ever done it. That was certainly an
really
on-the-spot
good
situation.
So if you people are also looking for a guy who wrestles and can do broadcasting,
in his mind, too. This is not a match that's happening.
He's right there. By the way, go to the Ring of Honor website to check up on Adam Cole and all the great athletes of Ring of Honor. Let's talk 2 more things I want to talk to you about. You have been to England.
Yes.
You've been to Germany, and now I understand you're in negotiations to go to South America. Tell us about that.
I'm so thrilled about this because one of the perks of pro wrestling is the travel that we get to do.
Oh, yeah, I've been almost all over the world.
Right, how awesome is it? It's great.
It's fantastic.
Great. So the idea of me going to South America, this is probably something I'll never get to do again.
What's happening there?
September 29th, the LWF, the Latin American Wrestling Federation, is actually hosting a tournament where they're having wrestlers from all over the entire world. We've got guys like Carlito, Chris Masters, myself, Johnny Gargano, the current Dragon Gate USA champion, Ricochet, Willie Mack from Pro Wrestling Guerrilla out in California,
Wow.
and then countless others, guys from Japan and Mexico as well. This is just going to be a tremendous tournament. So I'm very, very excited for this. I actually think my matchup will be me versus Ricochet versus Johnny Gargano, which is something I'm very excited about.
That would be tremendous if that match happens.
Yeah,
It's still an open contract,
Sure,
right?
sure,
Okay.
yeah. So, you know, as of now, like I said, I'm thrilled with the idea. The LWF is something that they're very, very excited for this event coming up September 29th. And when it comes together, and if it does, it's going to be certainly something very special. For
That's
sure.
good. Do you speak Spanish at all?
Unfortunately, no.
I was going to ask you to say some things to the Spanish-speaking audience out there.
Hola.
That's good. I like that.
Hola.
I like that. All right. Now, before we wrap up, I understand you've done almost everything in wrestling. Is there any other title or anything you have not even thought of but you really want?
It's really, really funny that you bring that up, Bill, because there is one championship that I've really had my eyes on. As a matter of fact,
And you're hearing it here first on One Wrestling.
it's a championship
Whoa.
that someone that you know very well,
Hold that up. That's my
being Wonderful Willie,
belt.
Mr. Bill Apter,
Yeah.
and being the championship office wrestling,
The cow champion.
the cow champion.
That's me.
I feel like I'm on a little bit of a roll lately, being the current Ring of Honor World
Excuse me
Television
one
champion.
second. Excuse me one second. Anytime in any office of your choice, Wonderful Willie will style and profile, if you will. This is not an office. This happens to be a conference room. So Adam Cole.
We could come on. We can get some computers,
Thank you.
some printers.
Thank you for the interview time. It's really been fine.
Willie,
I'm out of here, brother.
I'm gonna get my match. I'm gonna get my match.